you, sir. Why don't we go ahead and call our meeting to order, please? If we could all stand for a moment of silence, and then we'll ask Councilmember Lusby to lead us in the pledge of the flag.
Shall we pledge? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we call the roll, please?
Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Mrs. Butcher Conway? Mrs. Singer Eardley?
Here.
Mr. Lusby?
Here.
Mr. Showalter?
Here.
Mrs. Tingle Sames?
Here.
Mrs. Tackett? Here. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you. We have a quorum. Each of you should have received a copy of the minutes from our last regularly scheduled. Yeah, it was a regularly scheduled meeting of June the 12th. It seems like we should have had a couple of special meetings in there, the way it's been going.
Of course, I can't
Thank
come
you.
out of it, do anything, you know what I'm saying?
And second?
Second.
Ms. James. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Also, if each of you could indicate if you received a copy of the check register, thank you. Now we're at the portion of the meeting for public comments, and first that is signed up is Mr. Warren Price.
It's an honor to have the freedom to speak. I gave our soldiers the credit. This is a sort of a parable of love of money, what it'll do. Around 10 years ago, Scott County was voted wet. Since then, drugs has grown rapid in Scott County. Law officials tell me 75 to 80% of all crimes is related to drugs and alcohol. The reason for voting it wet was bring big restrooms, tax money, make it more convenient to keep people off the road. And now we're building a $31 million jail to take care of the crime. I'm not saying that's all of the percentage, but is brought to Scott County. The big cost is not the cost of the jail. It's the level of lives destroyed, soul level of lives destroyed, the love of money. We didn't learn anything from our integrity of our forefathers that had Scott County voted wet for around 60 years. That wasn't included. Wasn't even mentioned. We knew better. Since we take sin will take you farther than you want to go and cost you more than you want to pay. Just what this has just done for Scott County. Now we're fighting to get back control of the drugs and the destroyed families. We all have some kind of addiction. All of us do. And if we have it around us, we're going to, and convenient, we're going to abuse it. I lost 33 pounds trying to avoid operation. Since then, I put on 17 pounds and didn't want to. Scales don't lie. The godly things that have been destroyed can't be brought back. Lives, divorces, homeless kids, trust, reliability, money can't buy. All factories have to give drug tests for hiring. Grandparents raising grandkids because their grandchildren have been destroyed by drugs. Let the grandparents vote the law what to do with the drug dealers that don't care. The law won't have to serve it but once. It is also a sin to deplete the poor and crush the needy. God's way is to help them. I am living proof of it being the opposite. The council is to represent all people. We need a budget for hardship people. The churches are probably the second property owner in Scott County, in Georgetown, including the college and all of the soul and heart, the veterans, humanity, and freedom. The veterans and the churches and college are probably over half of the vote in Scott County and in Georgetown. Then you have the money people that are blinded by the love of money. And where is Scott County gone? Georgetown gone. It was just on news last week about our drugs. Sorry. Which would destroy Georgetown the most? Destroy the colleges, the churches, the veterans, and their work that they do in this community, have done, and how it's affected this community. The soul of our town are the love of money.
Mr. Price, is there a point that you'd like to come to for the council's benefit?
Yes, I'm just about there if you give me another 30 seconds.
Thank you, sir.
Vote according to the budget for a hardship friend fund. Treat us at least as good as the dogs. This is my calling, and if you check with my history, I don't quit and I don't lose. I serve a living God. Remember, we are having a vote day coming up, and I think it can be stimulated by the churches, by the veterans, and I feel they'll all vote together if we get this out as a soul, as this foundation.
Mr. Price, before you leave, you understand that the council did not bring liquor to Georgetown. The citizens did. It's our job to regulate
They
it.
did.
I'm just telling you that,
I
though.
was using this as
Okay, I'm just letting you know that you act
The love
like
of
we
money.
put it in, which we didn't do that.
And I
We just
feel the love
regulated
of
it.
money is big control of this code.
We represent the people, and that was their vote that they asked us to do, so we had to do it. And right, Andrew?
The rules. I recognize when you go to court, you have witnesses. You got the right to take it before a jury, and be heard before you're guilty. And you have, to me, the money people is the one that's controlling this. How you're affecting other people's property. It doesn't matter what kind of hardship you bring on people. I agree. We got a beautiful town, and I agree with that. I agree. I had a conglomerate mess, but I was also in a hardship. I didn't volunteer for my wife to have cancer 6 years, and the medical bills, and the situation with the animal shelter. My wife dying with cancer, and going through a drought with 200 head of livestock, so I could get them through, so I could pay her medical bills. And then it was attacked by Georgetown, Scott County, and had to go through Scott County and went to Frankfort and got the 105 bill passed 38-0. Somebody was wrong in Georgetown, but I took about $100,000 loss off of it because I couldn't fight it. I didn't have the money. I took it all the way to going before a jury, and my lawyer got a pituitary tumor, and we didn't get it before a jury. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Price. The next speaker under public comments will be Stephen Price.
Thank you, Mayor Prather, Council. I'm Stephen Price. I live at 167 Rucker Avenue in Georgetown. I have received a notice from the Code Enforcement Office. Actually, a lawsuit was filed. I filed a lawsuit in 2015 to try to avert any future interference in my horticulture and botany work by the Code Enforcement Office. In 2015, the town code enforcement officer Carter wrote me a letter and said, we're not gonna bother you anymore for the moment, it said, or temporarily, something to that effect, with enforcement. So I backed off of my lawsuit and carried on with my horticulture and botany work. But about 2 months ago, I received notification from your law firm. Do you know who, does Sturgill, Turner, Barker, Maloney mean anything to you people? Do you know who that is? Who, can you tell me? You nodding yes, who is
The
that?
Stewart guy, he's been our city attorney before,
What's that?
He's been our city attorney before a long time ago, Stewart has. But yeah, it's a law firm.
It's a law firm, yeah, and does the town have any relation to that law firm?
Stewart was a city attorney for a
Years
small
ago.
moment or
That's been years ago.
Been
though.
years
Stewart,
ago.
Stewart, who are you talking about?
I don't know his first name.
So
The
you don't know of any existing relationship between Sturgill,
No,
Sturgill,
Sturgill.
Turner, Barker, Maloney?
No, I don't.
Well, then you know, that's the problem, because on your behalf, the town sued me, or renewed this lawsuit, asked the Scott Circuit Court, and the law firm who renewed this lawsuit is Sturgill, Turner, Barker, and Maloney, representing you. And you don't.
That this administration hired on behalf of the council, Steve. They are our outside counsel. They are employed by the city of Georgetown. I have signed the engagement letters. They are legally engaged by the city of Georgetown in this matter.
So you would have nodded, yes, you know that there's a relation between Georgetown and Sturgill, Turner, Barker, and Maloney, right?
I am aware that we have used this firm as outside counsel in a number of different cases that have been litigated.
Right, but I'm asking the council, and Councilwoman Tackett was not aware of that, correct? No, you weren't aware that there's any current relationship
Steve,
between...
what is the, if you have a point to make with the council, please don't argue with the council. If you have a point to make, please make it.
Well, the point is that you are represented you're elected to represent the people of Georgetown, but you're allowing a Lexington law firm to litigate against me, and you're not even aware of it. Apparently, at least Councilwoman Tackett is not, and I didn't see the reaction of any other council people. Mayor Prather's obviously aware of it.
The law firm out of Lexington, Mr. Price, is not the one litigating with you. The city of Georgetown is the one litigating.
Yeah, but who sent me the papers? Sturgill, Turner, Barker, and Maloney.
And
Sir.
because of,
So,
But I just want to answer for myself, is that I recognize the name, is what I'm saying. And if the mayor and his administration has, I'm not sure what's going on, we're gonna find out, obviously, but don't put words in my mouth. So go ahead.
well, I mean, I think it's typical that I doubt that the council at large knows that Sturgill, Turner, Barker, and Maloney has revived this lawsuit against me. I mean, I'm not surprised, because most of what happens in the town hall, I guess, as Mayor Prather just indicated. So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that I was, 2 months ago, I was notified by a Lexington law firm, Sturgill, Turner, Barker, Maloney, that they were reviving this lawsuit, which I had dropped, not dropped formally, but I had refrained from any further litigation because of this letter I kindly received from Code Officer Carter telling me that they were not going to pursue any further enforcement for the moment, it said, I think. Is that right, Hartley?
I'm not going to recite what the letter says because I don't have it in front of me. But if you want to produce that letter, we could discuss it.
Well, I'm sorry I don't have it with me. Anyway, so now I'm back on the defensive, and I'm having to defend my rights under law, under this law right here, Georgetown Ordinance 06-027, which says that natural landscaping is actually encouraged. The city acknowledges the desirability of permitting and encouraging the preservation and restoration of natural plant communities in urban areas, including Georgetown. This council passed the law in 2006, and I relied on the law to begin cultivating natural landscapes, that is, as defined here in natural plant communities. And I want to show you what I've come up with since 2015, since they ceased to bother me. This is a wild lettuce stalk. You can imagine how much leaf. There probably, in the course of the season, there's probably 15 pounds of edible leaves, lettuce leaves. They bleed white, just like the lettuce you buy at Save-A-Lot. That's how you know it's lettuce. And I can make a meal off of just a couple of handfuls of it, from May through October. And you can see that it's far more than 10 inches, which was the former height of vegetation limited by the pre-2006 ordinance. But since 2006, it says vegetation to any height. And so obviously this is going to offend Code Officer Carter because he's not used to seeing vegetation that high, but the law clearly says vegetation to any height in a managed landscape.
Steve, what we can't do in a council meeting is relitigate a court case that the judge settled last week. And the judge ruled in summary judgment on behalf of the city that that ordinance does not protect your activities on your property. Yeah. And I understand that you may not agree with the judge's ruling, but that was the judge's ruling, and this council cannot change that.
Well, I just want to show, the judge granted the summary judgment, that's correct. But she did not even read the pleadings, Mayor Prather. I filed maybe a half inch of pleadings, which the judge didn't even bother to read. And I want to just say briefly, I don't want to take any more of your time, but I want to show you what you're going to sacrifice if you don't call this code enforcement operation off. They're going to give me time to so-called abate it, but it means I'm going to have to cut it down, or they're going to cut it down. And I just want to show you what they're going to cut down. This is a rake that I made, and the handle is made of a wild lettuce stalk, and because it's completely hollow, I want to show you. This is completely hollow. This is a wild lettuce stalk. You can see it's hollow. And because it's hollow, it's lightweight. And a rake made with this lightweight material for the handle means a man can work all day long raking hay or leaves and not get tired because it's so much lighter. The same, I made a broom. I put one of these on a broom that makes the broom much lighter. And I didn't have to mill that. No electricity was required to make it. It simply grew. All I had to do was cut it off. And I have a picture here. I have pictures here of a house I made. Mayor President, there's been a lot of, about talk in the newspaper about housing shortage. This is a house that I'd just like to show you. This is a house I built into a haystack. And this would accommodate people who need housing. But you have to have hay. And they're telling me I can't have the hay. And I thought today, you might say I discovered this building technique because I had the hay, had to do something with the hay. But if you have to have materials for innovation, and if you deprive people of materials, there will be no innovation.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Prather, you've been quoted in the paper about your concern for our historic resources, specifically the viaduct, correct?
Yes, sir.
Our natural history, the natural history of Georgetown, that is the history of the fauna and flora of Georgetown, far predates arrival of European colonists. And that natural history is just as important, if maybe not more important, than the artifacts that have been built here since the 1800s. Since the 1700s. And this is how I manage my property with no noise. And if this mode of management were popularized throughout the town, people would be in much better shape physically. We would have less noise problems, and all these materials suddenly become valuable because you don't just mow them down with a machine. And they become, you see them, you observe them, and economic, what is economic botany? Is making economic use of the plants. And that's what I tried to show you.
So I'm,
And-
but I'm-
and-
but I'm going to ask us to draw it to a close for this evening, if we can, Steve.
Okay, well, I will say simply that I had a photograph at my house, I forgot, I failed to bring it, but I've mounted it on a piece of paper, forgot to bring it. I employed a man to help me cut these stalks. I have a picture of him cutting the stalks. I would like to be a business. I would like to have, someday you come and have a ribbon cutting ceremony for me. And I employed people. I had a business license until 2014 when you all cut down all my trees. And if you would cooperate with me, I would get another business license, continue to employ people, innovate products from nature, and market those products on a small scale, admittedly, to begin with. But if you force me to abate the materials, I won't have any materials to use for my work or for innovation. And I ask you to please consider reining in and reconsidering and asking Attorney Hartley and Code Officer Carter to consider what I've just told you.
Thank you.
And one other thing, all these photographs that they sent me of the so alleged nuisances, they see all of that as nuisance. I've got 12 different plants listed there.
Steve, council is not the one to make the decision on this issue, so
Court ruling, you can't do nothing about it.
it's not,
Well,
this
you
is
can
not
do
something,
something about it. I told you she didn't even read the pleadings.
thank you.
You don't want to do anything about it for some reason. You could do something about it,
Steve,
but you don't want to.
Steve, if we could please move on with our meeting, thank you. Under mayor's comments, several things that hopefully won't take too long. First, we've asked some of our Parks and Recreation leadership to be with us here tonight because we don't often do proclamations, but I think it's significant in our community that the U.S. House of Representatives has made this designation, and we wish to designate July as Parks and Recreation Month. Oh, you have it. Okay, great. If you could read the resolution, please.
July is Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Georgetown and Scott County, whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of the air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the city of Georgetown recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore be it resolved by Mayor Tom Prather that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Georgetown.
Our Parks and Recreation Department has had some real successes lately, and we're delighted with this proclamation. Just a few things that I know they've got going on. July 7th is going to be Christmas in July at the Cephaletta Family Aquatic Center. So kind of a day full of fun there, Christmas in July. On July 14th, Pirates of the Pavilion, which kind of a nice play on going to the pavilion. July the 8th to July 15th, Party with the Parks, encouraging the community to visit some of the lesser-known parks throughout the community. And then a Party with the Parks event at Suffaletta for those who participated in the social media campaign. So a lot of very innovative things going on. Sherry, anything that you'd like to add? The only thing we didn't put in there as a whereas is our Parks and Recreation Department has been recognized repeatedly as the best in the state of Kentucky at various events. So.
Well, I just wanted to thank you all for all your support that you have given us and the continued support, and for supporting us throughout this budget and making it a much simpler process than we have had sometimes. So thank you so much for that. And without your support, we couldn't do what we do and provide the services we do to the community. So thank you for all that. And thank you for letting us have a job that we love and supporting us while we do that. So thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you, Mayor.
With even a gold seal on it. There you go.
Kim, get the pictures. We want this on Facebook.
Got it.
Thank you,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
All right.
Good job.
Let's see here. Also, while we're talking about Parks and Recreation, are those pictures easy to pull up?
Yes, they're up on the screen right now.
Oh, are they good? We've finished the paving of the parking lot at Ed Davis Park. So it is paved and striped, and it is a significantly
Big improvement.
You want to scoot down so you can see? Come on, Mark.
Here, I'll fix it.
That's why we put wheels on these chairs.
I have wheels.
So it's going to give, when you see these images, it makes a real nice grassy area where Sherry's got plans for a nice sign. Sign is ordered. Good.
Oh.
That used to be an all gravel lot that it was just hard to keep clean. It was this will be a real improvement. Hamilton and Hinkle kept the price that they gave us last fall, so they maintained their pricing.
No, we need to send a big thank you to them for the many things they do in this city.
Yeah.
Many things.
Yeah,
Acknowledge them on the website even.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, can we do a resolution for them
yeah, I think
I
we
think
should.
we could,
I
because
think
they've
we
helped
do
us
something.
with lots?
year after year. They've done that. If we can get Richard to come, he not much of a publicity hog. He likes the sidelines there, or behind the scenes is where Richard really likes to work. But he was also instrumental in our discussions with Cardone. I'm not sure it could have happened without Richard's leadership, making that happen. So just wanted you all to see that we had done that. Just to indicate the type of activity that we've been having these last few weekends and weekends to come. This last weekend, there was everything from the ham radio operators out at Whispering Hills to the Montessori School had a great event at the Georgetown College Conference Center with every manner of truck, police car, sheriff's helicopter, and the stars of the day were probably a toss-up between the fire trucks and the garbage trucks. Kids love garbage trucks. That's just all there is to it. And then Saturday night, there was a nice reception for the artist who submitted their work to go on the storm drains going up and down Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, we've had decals that say "Don't dump here," and we've had spray-painted words, and now we're hoping the eloquence of art maybe can stop people from putting things down those drains. So they honored the artists that were picked to have their art on those storm drains. And then, of course, Party on the Square. This coming weekend, 4th of July and fireworks all weekend long.
Yeah.
Our police department has put on their Facebook page what the Georgetown City ordinance on fireworks and appropriate days and appropriate hours for fireworks, Chief. but I know up in my neighborhood, they're already going crazy.
Yeah. They'll go through August.
They'll go through August. But even this coming Saturday, I think Sadieville and Stamping Ground has some real nice small-town things to do for the 4th, and we will honor the 4th, actually on Tuesday, the 4th, for the city. Just a heads up, it's not something that the city directly controls, and it's not something the council controls. But I am aware from sitting on the Housing Authority Board of Directors that this is going to be a tough budget year for the Housing Authority. We've seen it coming for the last couple of years. The proposed budget for HUD, they're talking about a 68% reimbursement rate and zeroing out our capital funds expenditures. And between now and the end of September, the Housing Authority has a $325,000 budget gap that it has to address. And they'll be working on that, and we'll keep you up to speed because you all ratify the appointments to that board. So we'll keep you up to speed, but we do know that that's going to be a tough budget to balance. This coming Saturday is free mulch day and free dump day.
Yep.
So if you want some mulch, Robert's got a bunch of it for you. And if you want.
Trash to unload it, take a good load.
Exactly. You can just free up the space and get some mulch and bring it back. At the next council meeting, we will have your MAP hearing, so we can have the list of streets and get those approved. Tonight, later, we're going to have a resolution accepting the funds. At the next meeting, we'll have our public hearing on when we have to do that. And also wanted the council to know that we've been working for a handful of months on with the Scott Education and Community Foundation about potentially spinning off the UCO in from underneath of the Education and Community Foundation. They've existed as a subcommittee of the Education Foundation for a long time, but they've never had any formal structure, no bylaws, no process for appointing board members. And we've been working with the Education Foundation on potentially spinning that off into a separate 501c3 with a self-perpetuating board and free it up to be successful.
It's just a good idea. They've always been handicapped.
Well, where would they get their funding from other than?
Well,
And then do their own fundraising and can really go out, they can then start to do a lot for themselves. Because it's always
Kind of
been a
hard not to
problem.
do it when you're not a 501c3.
if they have the right tools.
Yeah.
What's hard for UCON right now is, and look, our city clerk has done the lion's share of work. The board members didn't know how to, they were passing a phone around to each other and taking calls about reserving the place. And Tracy volunteered to be the keeper of the phone. So she has voluntarily kept their bookings up just as an additional duty that not many people are aware of. If someone calls Tracy to rent our villa, then they have to go someplace else to rent tables and chairs. It's not an easy proposition. So we're working with the Education Foundation, and Jeff Singer, who's been around the garden since its inception, is helping us with a wish list. And we're talking with the Education Foundation about funding improvements for UCON so that when we spin it off, it can have all the tools to be successful. Tables and chairs, a building to put the tables and chairs in, a paved parking lot, a paved handicapped entrance, fix the liner in the pond, fix the waterfall in the pond, all the things that UCON needs to be what it can be. Then, David, I think a 501c3 can be aggressive about booking it and maybe get enough income going to keep themselves sufficient.
Because it's used for weddings and they don't charge, unless it's changed recently, they don't charge for doing weddings there and that, and I mean, that's good income,
Do they
especially
charge?
if you get the,
They do charge?
are they charging now?
Do we do now?
You're charged now, yeah. Okay, those are the types of things, there's got lots of potential.
So we've also, since we do use Sturgill Turner on a lot of outside issues. They represented us on the the landfill fatality, and they've represented us on other cases. We are utilizing them to help us draw the 501c3 documents. I told the Education Foundation that we'd be willing to do that since the city owns the UCON.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're responsible for it, and if we're gonna set up a 501c3, I thought we should have our fingerprints on doing that.
I wonder why they didn't have that. You know, they've been around a long time, as you said, and I think we as a group have been very supportive. And they've had a lot of wonderful people volunteer and put in a lot of time. And it's a great thing. And it's I guess it illustrates the relationship we have with Tahara Cho, right? Isn't that part of the...
Very much, and David, the lion's share of the funds for the villa came from Tahara.
Right. I guess I'm just wondering why 501c3 wasn't, is that right, 501c3?
C3.
Wasn't set up much longer ago, you know?
And I think it's a classic case of communities having great people and great volunteers who get something going
Just don't think of it.
and keep it going. And when this really came to light was early last fall. Butch and Linda Glass, who have been mainstays in this forever, came to me and said, we're tired and we want to retire. Others who have been mainstays with UCON were tired and wanted to retire. They willed it to be successful.
Yeah.
So I told Butch and Linda that we would figure out a structure to make it more permanent and have a self-sustaining board. So this is just an outgrowth of great work done for 15 years.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like there's been a generation to follow behind that group to take it over that had the level of interest. And maybe it's appropriate for, I guess, us. Is that what you're saying?
Well, and we know of some people who are very interested. We can bring along several of the former garden trustees for history and continuity and to honor them, and bring them onto the new 501c3 board, along with some new energy. I've even, somebody I'd like to talk to is Alec Warren has moved back to Georgetown. If we want to have a real relationship with Japanese companies across Kentucky, he may be able to help us. We may need to get more active in the Japan-America Society of Kentucky. But I think it's between the church taking over Cardone, and if we can get the UCON updated and with a good solid structure, I think it'd be real progress.
Mayor, I know there's a sense of pride, obviously, with the garden, and I'm just asking the question, have they talked about trying to find a private group that specializes in events like weddings and so forth to take that, to maybe lease the property out through the private sector?
No, they have not. And I would, if we get this 501c off the ground, and if it's populated with the right type of board members, I'm hopeful we'll see that level of activity. And if we don't, then we may want to consider something of that type.
When Cardone was originally being discussed, what were we going to do? I mean, we were losing, I don't want to say we were losing, but we were putting $600,000 a year into Cardone.
We were losing.
We were losing, David. Go ahead and say it.
But, the group, the Casties, I guess, that came to us along with the different folks that they had involved seemed to be that private sector lifeline to take care of it. Now, that obviously didn't last, but for a while, it took some serious pressure off of us, the ones that were funding it.
It did take some immediate, short-term things off our plate. We substituted it for long-term deferred maintenance that the Casties never did anything
That's what I'm
Right,
about
right.
there.
So that one is a mixed experience.
You're right, and it needed maintenance when we gave it to them, quite honestly.
But
Right,
they-
it wasn't quite to the magnitude,
Yeah.
but it was, that was one of the, well, one of the reasons
All that.
that it was a good,
It's a good idea.
okay. But anyway, I think it's good to kind of think about a lot of, open up the door to possibilities. We don't know what those possibilities are. And like you were saying, is it Alex Warren? Is that right? Or Alec?
Alec.
Alec Warren? I mean, that's a great idea. he might have a thought, he might have a group, or who knows where that could lead.
Oh, I do not think the intention, David, at this stage is to say, we want you, commercial entity, to take this and run it. I think it's a group of local folks who think they can constitute a 501c3 and do that or more.
Okay.
Probably the first thing that we'll do, and y'all can go ahead and start putting this on your calendars. We know we're going to have our Japanese guest visit this fall. It's going to be a fairly small group. I think Mayor Yamashita and 8 or 9 people are apparently going to visit Princeton, Indiana first, and then come here. But they were only going to be here 2 nights. And I think, if the calendar backs me up, it's maybe the last day of September and the first day of October, if those are Friday, Saturday nights.
Friday is 29th, Saturday's 30th.
Okay.
You were October, and October 1st is Sunday.
I think they're leaving on dark 30 Sunday morning, that real early flight out of Lexington.
On October 1.
So I think there's a home UK game on that Saturday, and we didn't want to have a conflict day or night with a football game. So we're looking at Friday night of having a combination official visit and fundraiser party at UCO Inn. Kind of like the one they had last fall, the Blue Moon over UCO Inn, where they sold tickets, but we'll also honor Mayor Yamashita as the official guest.
Well, that would certainly be considered a tourism-related piece of property, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a restaurant tax, that would be an appropriate way to help them obtain funding.
It would.
It's been a long time since you said that.
I watched your face.
What was it, Karen, 8 years?
Smoothly worked that in there. Smoothly, guy.
The other thing that it can do, and long term, I do think we have to think about funding sources for some of these things.
Yeah.
And because just doing it by the seat of our pants and some hit or miss out of the general fund is hard. We still have an idea that when our proceeds start coming in from the church through the Cardone deal, the first couple of payments, we're going to probably have legal expenses and things that we've spent that we need to recover. But over time, I would like for some of those funds to be dedicated to Royal Spring Park and UCO Inn. Either direct allocations from the annual payments, ideally if we could accumulate some of that corpus and let it get up to the $800,000 or $900,000 and then spend the annual proceeds on UCO Inn and Royal Spring Park, then we're beginning to think in longer terms about those. And since that was a gift to the community, that might be a good use for those funds anyway. So just thoughts as we ease down this road. Let's see. That's all. By way of explanation, first we have another first reading of the garbage ordinance tonight. And I've had a chance to speak with several of you. After a lot of deliberation with the committee, we decided that we were uncomfortable with one part of the ordinance that we presented at the last meeting. And that was the part that had to do with senior citizens and people being restricted to 56-gallon cans. Mark asked a pretty good question about how do we administer that, and so we went back to the committee, and what we've concluded is that this ordinance will be better if we make no changes to the senior citizens provision. They can have whichever size can they choose to have. The other thing, we thought we would even go a step further after talking to Marvin and Millie, and that is The old ordinance that had been proposed indicated that if you had a senior discount and you asked for the bigger can or you asked for a second can, you lost your discount. The ordinance that we want to bring back to you tonight says that if you get the senior discount and you want a second can, you get it for the same $5 that anybody else gets it for. So we've kept the senior discount, plus we've strengthened it. That is the only change to the ordinance. We thought, committee agreed, Marvin, I'm putting a lot of words in your and Millie's mouth.
You're doing a
but-
good job.
But that it would make it a better ordinance and an easier ordinance to pass if we just we can cut that part out and it doesn't affect us. We do recognize that that's a substantial enough change to where we need to have another first reading tonight. So that's why it's back on your agenda for a first reading rather than a second reading. We also have had some extensive meetings with Laurie Saunders and with Robert to talk about how we notify people about this and how we roll it out. Laurie has already started the process of talking with a handful of downtown merchants. Most of them have already responded that they can get by with one can once a week.
Sure, I mean, that's a
And
savings.
our Public Works employees tell us that about half the downtown merchants they think probably can get by with one can per week. Lori is gonna send out, she's got a copy of the ordinance and she's got a copy of the commercial matrix. She's gonna send it out to everybody. She's gonna have it on the agenda for her next Celebrate Georgetown Downtown Merchant meetings. And then we understand that from the moment we pass the ordinance until the effective date, which we're thinking September 1st, but far enough out, we have to have communication with every business customer we have because we're giving them an option. And they need to make their choice. So that we've been talking about what steps we'll take, but there will be a definitive process so that people both
Make their own decision.
understand
Make their own decision on it.
and make their decision and notify us of
Will you
how
have
they
the,
want to
by
do
the
that.
time we have the second reading, will you have the process down as to how you're gonna, what you're gonna do, how you're gonna present the process?
Yeah, yeah. We got it pretty well figured out, and plus I wanted some quick feedback for you all tonight. Robert just anecdotally has talked to a handful of business owners, and people seem to think it is pretty reasonable, but we'll have that communication process. The thing that from talking with several council members, the thing that I hope we'll keep in mind is what we learned from the consultants is, to at least some degree, we've been having residential customers subsidize business customers. And we want to get the cost reflected where they truly belong. And we think a number of our business customers might be able to do with one can and actually have a decrease. Robert, it was interesting. We looked at some of the heavier use customers that might be at the top end of the matrix and compared them to what they're paying now. There's a number of these places that actually, even at the top end of the matrix, are paying about what the matrix shows, and maybe even $4 less in the matrix.
The way I had it, the one I used was the daycare at church down here on Clinton Street.
Yeah,
They pay the same as what the schools are paying for dumpster service. They have four to five cans. We pick them up every day. And with the new matrix, right now they're paying $187. With the new matrix at 4 cans, it's $175.
so I think when we work with businesses and give them some flexibility, that I don't think this is,
It's always better to work with them than just to shove it on them.
Yes.
Yeah. The one thing I'll point out, though, is,
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're trying to keep it, and I see both sides of it, so I'm not being negative here, but I'm just pointing something out. And we charge $15, I think, right, per month for the residential container. And if a business has that exact same container, I mean, the landfill doesn't know if it was at a business's location or a residential location, but we're charging the business quite a bit more than that.
$4.
Quite a bit. That's from a percentage standpoint, almost 20%, Mayor.
Although, and the reason for that is,
Yeah.
is the routes are totally
I know.
different, and the routes aren't as efficient. This is the cost of service.
It's getting in and out of these
I know.
places.
So
Right
here's,
now, even though we don't need to, majority of business, we go 3 days a week.
well, and that kind of leads me to,
Some
an-
of them need that.
yeah, well, here's the quick question. I know the line on the containers, I guess it was drawn at 5, right, for a business being the max number. But what if a business needed 6 or 8 and they only wanted to be picked up 3 times a week versus every single day?
I think the reason we used that was because 6 would be the same as a 6-yard dumpster, which we got out of the dumpster business.
Right.
I mean, the other thing you've got too is some businesses, or we have a few of them are like restaurants, their waste is a lot heavier than
Very heavy.
somebody with an office or a boutique or something like that. So, I mean, that's trying to be fair for everybody. But
I guess I'm wondering about the number, though. Where does you're just saying because you could get
well,
a,
that's how we figured it. If you had 6, that's the same as a dumpster.
yeah.
That's how we got that.
To some degree, at one time, we wanted to get more business. You know, we kind of aggressively went out. Are we kind of saying it's okay now that we don't? You know, we just assume they,
No, it's just, we've got over 200-something customers that are business, Herbie customers. And we've got a few more, since then. It was we didn't have enough of the dumpster.
yeah. Do you anticipate losing some businesses with this new?
I don't think so. I think we'll still be competitive with the rates.
Okay,
Well, that's what customers have told me.
yeah.
New customers and stuff like that, our
Yeah.
rates will still be
Yeah.
competitive.
One of the things I ran into in Lexington, Mayor, is they required a dumpster. We didn't have the option for a Herbie. We had to put the fence around it, which was all fine. Very little garbage. But what happened was the general public started filling it up, and they wouldn't even put it in the dumpster. They'd dump it over the fence and it'd be on the ground, and it's just a perpetual problem.
That's a
That's in
problem.
Lexington.
That's
It's not.
everywhere.
I know, but I don't think we have that same requirement that I know.
We have several, people that we don't service that have,
Yeah.
private companies have dumpsters.
Yeah.
They have that problem.
Yeah.
We have that problem, one dumpster in town, it's right at the dead end street, assisted living home. People will come up there and throw stuff in it, well, the private company won't pick it, they end up scooting it around the end of the street.
Yeah.
Guess who's got it?
We get it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you'll ever fix that problem.
Yeah. You're always gonna have issues.
Well, I've had people ask me, I told them, I said, put cameras up, get video of them,
Yeah.
call Chief Boss. But I think that's a problem you're always gonna have, people dumping. I mean, we try to do our best.
I don't think there's any doubt from the consultant's report that we need to alter our commercial rates. We knew before the consultants got here that our commercial rates were a train wreck.
Yeah.
And they bore no resemblance to what we were doing.
And they were.
We're just
almost
trying to
over.
we're trying to get what we're doing reflected in the rates that we're charging and make it work. This matrix is fair, and I will defend this matrix. I believe it's fair.
You know, I told Polly a while ago, I see a lot of people at Walmart's, and I've not had the first person say anything negative against the ordinance. I've had a few people say that they would like to see people that's throwing it on the road to get an extra can, you know, on their side about their dumpster or garbage can. So, you know,
Well, that leads to a question. I actually was paying attention this morning, was driving, watching people's trash cans that were out, not businesses, but just residential. And some people had 2, and then the next person would have 1, and then they had like their own little Herbie thing and a box of cardboard and stuff like that. So they'll probably never pay the extra $5. They need the second Herbie, and they're never going to pay the extra $5. How are we going to handle that? Because we've charged somebody $5 that's being a good citizen to try to get all their garbage in a Herbie's, and then yet the person that's next door or 2 doors down is not putting their garbage in. They need the extra Herbie, and they're not going to get it and put their garbage in
Charge them
it.
$5
Well,
extra on their bill.
That's
You
when
gotta
we
go pick
gotta
it up.
get a hold of.
Phase 3.
Overflow.
That's what I'm calling phase 3.
But we're not doing that, and we're not going to do that, because just like what he said, it's phase 3, right? So we're not gonna do that, so we're not encouraging everybody that right now has, it almost makes me think you're going backwards, because everybody right now that has 2 Herbies will say, well, neighbor Joe is putting his out, I'll just send my extra one back and I'll just leave my stuff out. And then we might be going backwards on how to go back around and get the citizens to start encouraging them to use the Herbies, because it's taken a while, but we're getting there with more and more people are using the Herbies, but
Well, you gotta
Well,
make a
well, I
change
think
somewhere.
I think the current ordinance still says it's gotta be in the can.
right. Right.
And you don't
But
have
we're
to
not,
take-
we're not enforcing, and I'm not saying nothing about you or the mayor, because I've been there, done that, and I know how hard that is, and those are the nastiest phone calls you get. It's about trash. So I'm not saying anything about
You
like
saying they're
that.
trashy?
But it's nasty
We're
trash.
trying,
Oh,
we
Marvin.
still
Bad.
put door hangers on them, tell them they can't
Yeah.
have the 45-gallon can.
Mm-hmm.
And they call and we try to explain, and, you know, that's why I'd like to see one, at least in the near future, to go to, you know, every quarter have a week that you allow the overflow.
Yeah,
And that would take care of 95%.
right.
That actually might.
Yeah.
But that has to be in the ordinance, you know, we say once a quarter, you know, January, April, July, the 3rd week of the month, you can have overflow on your route.
Actually, I like that idea.
And, you know, of course, we know we're gonna have it at Christmas,
Right.
everybody has overflow at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we wanna, you know, do that is to, some people have it, you're gonna have it, everybody likes spring clean and fall clean, and,
Go these
but
yard
it's
sales.
the ones that have it all the time that, you know, they ruin it for everybody, I guess, so to speak.
We have to keep chipping away at the process, and I think that eventually we work our way to a pay-as-you-throw model. And then everybody pays for the size container they have, which is what Frankfurt and some other cities have gone to. We are not near ready to go to pay-as-you-throw. We have to implement recycling. We have to give people ways to reduce other waste streams. But eventually, if people pay for the volume they throw away, then you end up reducing the volume that goes into the landfill.
Do we have any idea how many people currently in the city have, residents, not business, use more than one Herbie?
Yeah,
According to our records, we have about 1,100.
1,100?
So that would be 10%.
10%.
I think the last time I asked that I said 10 to 15 now. There's some people that go buy cans that match ours, but they buy their own, so we don't have record of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, you know, also the smaller cans. I'd say anywhere 10 to 15%.
Okay.
I'm sure there's plus or minus.
Have you figured out how much money that's going to, if you add in the extra money for the extra cans and changing the business routes, have you actually added those I know the business is gonna be a little hard because you don't know what people
I
are gonna
can't figure the
choose.
business because we don't know what they're gonna pick.
I think you could probably,
You could close,
yeah, estimate.
yeah,
Have you put those numbers together?
no. I mean, if you had 1,100, that's 5,500 a month, what that would be. So, what is that, 660,000 or 66,000?
I don't know, that's what I was asking you to do.
I've put numbers together. I can get that for you by next week.
David could get that real quick.
No, I don't have my calculator.
I'm on it.
He can do it in his head.
Okay,
So I have a question.
yes, sir.
Since the consultant told us that the residents' trash pickup was subsidizing the commercial and the commercial dumpster, we got rid of the commercial dumpster, which was the biggest loss.
Right.
Why, and we're gonna change the grid for the commercial pickup. I have something else to say about that here in a second, but, why are we raising the rates on our residences?
I don't
Chuck,
consider
Chuck, that's not a fair question. We're not raising the rates on everybody.
$5,500 a month, we just said that.
If you had an extra can.
Right. But that's a raise to the residents, and they've already been subsidizing the commercial, which we're now getting rid of. we got rid of the dumpsters. Why are we raising the rate if we're taking away what they were subsidizing?
That's what the consultant said, if they had 2 cans, that's what you ought to do, charge for the extra can.
You know, the consultant also said to change the senior citizen, we're not doing that. Just making a point.
Consultant doesn't, Chuck, we retain consultants for their expertise and to help us as much as we can. Obviously, we don't hand them the checkbook and our vote. So we weigh everything they bring us. We thought that the senior citizen thing was not to our benefit and was not to the council's benefit. So I'm happy to pull it out. Do I think the other steps of the consultant's recommendations are valid? I absolutely do. And I know that we disagree on that. We're trying to work toward a more efficient operation that lets us get toward recycling. And if you are a business and you elect to have 1 Herbie per week, this is a price cut.
For $2.50.
It is a cut. If you want to characterize things as a raise, then we have to accept what's being cut.
How many businesses have 1 pickup and 1 can? I'm just curious.
Right now, we base it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I would say probably 50.
Rough estimate, yeah.
I'd say at least 50 would only need 1 pickup and 1 can. 50%.
And 50%, 1 pickup, 1 can, okay. As far as the business grid, I'm looking at my business myself, and the problem that I see is the overflow. Because what we're gonna have to get to, if we're gonna charge extra for the cans, we're gonna have to stop the overflow. And now we're asking the people to precisely predict what their trash usage is gonna be every single week, which is unreasonable, I think. So I think we should have 1 fee and allow people to put overflow out. Give a better level of service, since we're gonna charge them more than we could if we privatized, okay? I've sent you all the sheets showing what other cities are paying, and we're charging a lot more than what other cities pay for trash pickup. So we can give a better level of service. Okay, so I looked at my business, and I'm thinking, last time we had a pickup, I had 2 cans, and we had some box cardboard out there. So we had some overflow. Stuff that won't fit in the herd, okay? And I'm thinking, well, coming down the road, we're gonna have to do something different. I've stayed away from the dumpster because of the problem with people dumping in the dumpster. And if you put a lock on it, they throw it on top or throw it around.
Throw it on the ground.
If we start charging more for extra Herbies, we're gonna see more of that happening, because people aren't gonna do it. They're gonna find another way to get rid of that trash instead of paying the extra. So I had one of my employees call Central Kentucky Hall and get a price on a dumpster. For me to have 1 pickup a week, a 4-yard dumpster, it's $52 a month. And my current use of 2 Herbies, 2 pickups a week is gonna cost me $50, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And that's with no overflow, because that's where we're headed, no overflow. So I'm probably gonna get a dumpster, because I'll have that 4-yard dumpster to put my overflow in. And it's gonna be unsightly. We keep the cans inside the business now, the dumpster's gonna be out there in front of it now. That's another reason I didn't want to do it. But this is gonna force me to make that decision. So I'm just relating that personal experience. I have a lot of problems with this ordinance. And I'm trying to convey all of those right now. But I'm gonna leave it at that.
So what would your proposed solution be?
We select 1 rate for residents and just leave it at that and give a better level of service. We don't need to raise the rate because we're taking away what they were subsidizing before. And what I'm suspecting here is what?
The raising the rate is, where is that coming from?
Okay, at $15, we were subsidizing the commercial dumpsters. We got rid of the commercial dumpsters, so now we have that money left extra because residents were subsidized. Now we're gonna charge extra for the can.
All right, first off, we've put in place operations that we think will save us money going forward. The fact that we just took those steps, we don't have that money yet. You understand that, right? We won't realize those savings
Of course, I mean,
except
that's-
over the year's time.
Right. But that's what we're looking at the plan for the year.
Right.
So that's why I'm talking about this, that we're saving that money. So we don't need a raise rate, because we're already saving the money that we're subsidizing before. But we're not only just leaving it the same, we're actually increasing the $5 for the extra. 200 people.
Oh.
1,100 people.
That's right.
We've always charged people for an extra can, either through, Chuck, they've either purchased the can
buy the can.
or they're going to pay a monthly fee. So we've always charged people
For the can.
some fee for the second can.
Yes, not for the.
Although Rob just said that they pick up some that are not ours.
There are some out there that are not ours.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess we won't be picking those up now, right? Are we gonna- how are we
Now,
gonna
we can
charge?
still pick them up if they have to pay the,
Okay.
and we're gonna have to audit and see who, right now the drivers are trying to mark who has the 2 cans.
So I made the point that we've taken away what residential people were subsidizing, and we're raising the rate. On top of that, we're increasing the commercial, which I don't really have a big problem with. But what I suspect here is that we're trying to generate enough extra revenue to be able to say, oh, now we have enough money to implement recycling and pay the extra $400,000 a year for recycling. Is that what the game plan is?
I don't think there's been any question that the council's indicated a real interest in recycling. And every bit of this exercise is aimed toward us being able to evaluate curbside recycling. We've also tried to be very clear that as we consider curbside recycling, it is not going to save us money.
No, it's gonna cost us $400,000 a year.
It's probably going to cost us some, but I'm going to suggest to you that the majority of your citizens want to recycle.
If that was true, okay, the consultant, when I asked him the question, I says, if that's true, most of them want it, and we can make it a voluntary addition to the pay.
We
He
could,
said, oh, no,
Chuck.
because only 5% will do that. So there's something wrong with both those statements, okay?
Okay, if their advice to every community is that if you want to have a successful recycling program, that you make it available to everyone.
Available, I'm okay with. Forcing it on everybody, I'm not.
If we know I actually think that you can look at some events and look at data and actually get a pretty good idea of what will happen with other places when you apply the same data. I think that works. And if they have learned from a lot of different cities that you just don't get the recycling penetration on a voluntary basis, then I'm willing to accept their expertise. And
Which one?
Look,
Which expertise?
I'm gonna probably be very supportive of curbside recycling all the way through this.
Okay. Don't matter what it
And
costs.
if
No matter what it
you-
costs.
You can vote against curbside recycling at any point in the process you choose to.
My job is not to sit here and be quiet and then make a vote. My job
Nobody-
is to discuss it and make my points available and other council members make their points available to try to sway other people to go their way. Okay, that's what we're here for. So I can talk about it and debate it, not just sit here and vote. Okay?
I don't think anyone's ever
You just said
suggested that you should
just said
sit
I can
quietly,
vote
Chuck.
either way. So I'm making my case against this ordinance and this huge increase.
Chuck, it is not, that is just, you can continue to call it something that it's not if you wish to.
Black and white.
But it's not an increase, period.
It's math.
And you and I disagree. I'll give you the floor for as long as you want to make your points. Please continue. Just go
Well, I've
ahead.
already made my points. Okay,
No, you're saying I've told you you can't. The floor is yours. Make all the points you want, please.
I've already made my points,
Good. Can we move on then?
and I said I was gonna leave it at that. Okay? And then you commented back, and we got engaged.
Then you're,
Good, all right?
then you're right.
Mayor,
Thank you.
could we read the ordinance?
I think if you all would be happy to hear the
We're
summary.
we're gonna have discussion next time it comes up for a second, vote anyway.
Yes.
An ordinance amending various provisions of the Chapter 19, Article 2 of the Georgetown Code of Ordinances regarding solid waste collection and disposal. Amends Section 19-16 of the Georgetown Code of Ordinances to include waste from portable toilets in the definition of hazardous waste. Amends Section 19-20 to revise the rates for residential garbage collection to require payment of an additional $5 per month per additional Herbie Kirby for residents who request more than one Herbie. The existing 15 standard residential rate for a single Herbie is not being charged. Provides a maximum of 3 Herbies per dwelling unit and requires a minimum of 12 months use for additional Herbies. Allows customers who purchase an additional Herbie within the 12 months preceding the effective date of the ordinance to request a pro rata refund of the price. Amends the rate structure for commercial Herbie collection to eliminate the classification-based system and replace it with a rate matrix based on the number of collection times per week and number of Herbies collected. Limits the number of commercial Herbies to 5 per business. Allows the Director of Public Works to limit the number of commercial Herbies per parcel or to require business or property owner to seek private dumpster collection when necessary. Eliminates the requirement that customers over the age of 65 must use a single 65-gallon Herbie in order to obtain the $8 reduced residential Herbie rate. States that reduced residential rate customers will incur a $5 per month increase for each additional Herbie requested. Amends Section 19-21 to allow customers with a medical condition making compliance impractical to request a waiver from the requirements that Herbies be kept behind the front facade of a residence and/or that limits the times during which customers may place Herbies at the curb. Provides that unless specified in a citation, violations of the nuisance provision of the solid waste codes must be remedied within 24 hours of notice. Repeals the enforcement provision contained in Section 19-24. Amends Section 19-25 to make violations of the article subject to enforcement through the Georgetown Code Enforcement Board ordinance and subject to the standard penalty schedule. Provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the Georgetown City Clerk's Office, 100 North Court Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324. Introduced and publicly read for the first time, June the 26th, 2017.
Thank you. That will constitute first reading. Absent any big changes in the ordinance between now and next meeting, we'll have second reading at that time.
I should also say effective date of September 1. Sorry, I'm not gonna put that in the summary.
Effective date September, she just made.
Mayor,
That's
I
pretty
have
important.
another question.
Yes, ma'am.
I loved his idea of having, if we're gonna do this, of having the monthly, the last week of the month or whatever, having the overflow week. Or would we put that into this ordinance now, since we're changing that?
We have not addressed overflow yet, and well, I don't think we're gonna move quickly to eliminate overflow.
We talked about it in the committee meeting.
Yeah.
Why did you all not wanna put that into this ordinance, that part of it, into this ordinance now?
Well, we were looking at once a quarter overflow, what we discussed with Robert.
Tried to break up the changes
Yeah.
that we know we can make into manageable chunks. First one was the clear greatest need was the commercial dumpsters. And we wanted to look at the commercial Herbies and a few little odds and ends. And again, I think phase 3 is that sort of systemic changes. What do we do about overflows? And not just overflows, but what do we do about habitual offenders? What do we do about huge set-outs? What do we do from a code/enforcement perspective?
Well, I just thought you're making a change, you're making a substantial change to the ordinance with the 2 cans for the individuals, with the pay attached to the 2 cans. So I was thinking, well, that would give why you're having those people make a choice. If they knew at the end of every couple months or whatever they were gonna do that, that would maybe aid in their choice instead of you having to go back again. And then, cause you're gonna have to go through the paperwork of getting everybody set up correctly, paid correctly. And then if you go back to this and they say, oh, well, I get this at the end of the month or something, I can lay it all out, then I'm not gonna need this extra can. So then you're gonna have to go back and go through all that paperwork again. So I thought maybe it might be easier to incorporate it in now than later. I mean, I was just looking down here, like January and February, you're not gonna have much of that. March, you may start it. April, May, June, the rest of the, but December, you already got the last week is overflow. And November, the last week is overflow too. May, the last week is overflow automatically. So those 3 months are automatic. And then you just have to work out with the rest of the months, whether you're gonna skip a month or if you're gonna have
Well,
every
you
month.
would, if you did it once a quarter, then you would have to just say like November, December, Thanksgiving and Christmas week. It's gonna happen. I mean, it's just gonna happen.
Well, so I can see summer months because people do their yard work, because you're still gonna pick up yard waste.
April, May gets busy. June, June, July, if you got storms, that's the trees and
But that's normal anyway,
cleaning.
we pick
Yeah,
that up.
We have that
period,
anyway,
so.
so.
I would just think now might be the time to put it into the ordinance and
That's fine with me.
I like the idea, so I just thought now might be the time to put it in there.
We may go every bi-monthly. We talked about that too. We talked
Every
about
month.
bi-monthly and quarterly.
Because you've got, okay, if you took out January, February, March, April, maybe you could do it in April. May, you'd want to do it in May because you got the holiday associated that people will be home. Then June, July, actually skip June, July, and you have to have all these odd numbers on odd things. But July, because the week after 4th of July, people are home, they'll do extra work, they'll do clean out stuff that you could do then, and then figure out what your other month in November, December.
Yeah, we can look at it.
Or when you let the people know September 1st, the transition, that they can look for a follow-up of being able to do the overflow, that's gonna be looked at next. We're just trying to make the transition right now. It's just a thought, just throwing it out there.
It's however y'all wanna do it. I'll make it work.
Like here.
And either are valid approaches.
Yeah.
We threw it around.
Maybe we did kick it around, and maybe it was for our administrative survival that we thought about leaving one off of what we could do this time. We want to manage it.
I think administratively, I think you're gonna have a difficulty with it to do what you're gonna do. So if I was doing it, I'd bite the bullet and do it all at one time and be done with it, like that, instead of going back and using that manpower over again, but.
Well, there's some other big issues that we still have to get done with garbage as well. And,
I want to say, we all went through the last time we tried to make a quick change. And I think our point was, let's separate out that piece and let's really think through every distinct possible alternative that we have and bring that to you all and explain the pros and cons and let you all help us pick what the best option is. Administratively, we're already doing what Robert's saying anyway. I mean, I guess the question is, if that's what we're gonna do, let's just do that. I mean, we're already not hitting up people for an overflow. I think what we're getting at is we ultimately need to start enforcement. And once we start the enforcement, that's when we need to have all of the contingencies thought out and all of the, the flexibility put in.
Well, personally, if you want to go that direction, I think before you made a substantial change to pricing for folks, you should have all of that worked out, which is a tremendous amount of work, frustration, and effort. But I really think it all should have been worked out and done at one smooth time for that, so then everybody knows where we are, because you're having people stop and start, stop and start, stop and start. But that's okay. It's wherever the council wants to go with is fine. Because regardless of what you do and how you do, it's going to be a headache, and you know that.
If it's garbage, yes.
Mayor, I know we're
Yes, sir.
trying to wrap this up, and I
That's all right.
apologize, but this might be, you know, if, at least it's a comparison. This is an actual bill from Bowling Green, Kentucky. The garbage rate is $19.50 per month, and then they have a recycling charge on top of that of $2.65 per month. And I guess I envision that we would be similar to that in the future if we do incorporate recycling. That's kind of what I think in general, most, the committee perhaps has been talking about.
$253 for recycling.
We're not talking about the money from what we're doing tonight, subsidizing the recycling, because that's, I'm not excited about subsidizing recycling that way, personally anyway. That's what you're saying.
Well, I'm assuming that if we do, we're gonna have to buy cans and everything recycled. We'll have to charge for recycling. That just
Yeah,
That
has
seems
to
the
be.
reality.
Yeah.
That seems to be the reality, and I think that,
And you can't, as you said, you can't force them to recycle.
Yeah.
David, is that mandatory for the citizens
I
there to
don't know that.
recycle?
I don't know that.
Or is it just an
It
option?
may be, man, I don't know, we can find out. You know, and the other thing, I think I said it the last time I was at a meeting, but our situation today is a heck of a lot better than it was 15 years ago. Because we had people in here all the time complaining about garbage blowing all over the neighborhood and down the street. And Mayor, I'm sure you dealt with it, you know, the last time you were mayor. And Karen, actually, I guess it was already implemented by the time you were mayor, but I'm telling you, it was a huge problem, and the city looked bad because of it. So I know we've got our differences. We're not all gonna agree on everything, and that's just part of it, and that's fine. But we're a lot better off today than we were.
And I just want to throw out this too. I don't recycle. I know, shame on me. But I do know that if it was available to me,
You would.
that I would be open to the construction of how to go about doing it. And I'm not everybody's going to feel this way, but I wouldn't mind buying my own recycling can. I would be fine with it because then it would be available to me. Right now, I'd have to do a lot to do it.
Be convenient too.
Yeah, convenient. I'm all about convenient because I love thick
This
lists.
society's
I'm
about
just
convenience.
saying.
I'm just saying, right?
That's what we do.
But you know-
It's a convenience for,
Yeah, my broke down, crippled mom would load up the car. When she couldn't get them in the car, I'd put them in the car so she could go to the recycling.
And you let her unload them,
And
wouldn't
it
you?
was just a few little bags,
Yeah.
but it was important to her.
right.
Yeah.
And there's people out there that are like that, but I'm just saying the convenience of it, people would be way more open to it.
Well, I'm not gonna talk for Millie, but and when we sat down and discussed some of these, in some of the meetings I was at, the number one thing we were looking at is that we're trying to keep the garbage off the ground. The community looks a lot better when it's straight down the line, nothing but Herbies, instead of having a pile of garbage here, 8 houses down the road having used tires or garbage there. That's the key that we're trying to do, is just make the community look, and it's not 8 or 10 people, it's that one person that makes the whole block look bad.
Unless
Usually.
people in general, they have bad habits and they're not gonna change. It don't matter how convenient you make it for
Right.
them. That's just how people
But
are.
we're just trying to figure
You
out
have a
how we can make
percentage.
it look better for this, for Georgetown as a whole. And Chuck, you will disagree. I don't see it as a increase. If I can't get my garbage in one can, I pay $5 so I can keep it off the ground. That's what I'm looking at. So, you know.
And I just want to say this too, on the record again, is that the one thing about our men that do take care of the elderly people,
They do a
know
great
who
job.
they are. It's personal. And I like that in our community. I want it to stay that way as much as we can. I know
And we're gonna
change is
keep,
going
we're
to
gonna keep
happen,
that
and
like
it
that, aren't we,
does.
Robert?
Yes.
That's not gonna
there's-
change.
But I mean, they appreciate it, and I have had people tell me that you better take care of our garbage men because they'll have them hot chocolate and
Oh, yeah.
candy and everything. Christmas
Christmas, they have
time,
candy made for 'em.
Thanksgiving. I mean, they
Get
appreciate them.
presents at Christmas.
Yeah, and so and I want to thank you for taking that out for the senior citizens because we need to take care of them.
Yeah, well, there's one brought us where we're at now, so.
Very true.
I would like to make it clear that I'm not advocating privatization, okay? I'm saying we need to look at that to
Yeah.
compare what we're offering our citizens. And if privatization can be done for $8.83 and $3 for an extra can in Nicholasville,
Would a private company come back because little Miss Mary forgot to put her garbage out today and then we would come back the next day to pick it up?
Exactly, Marvin. I want to keep what we have and provide a higher level of service
I don't think you
without
get
raising the price.
I don't think you can get that privatized. Personally, I don't, you know.
Well, I just said I want to keep
Yeah.
our local system like we have now, but I want to offer a higher level of service for a reasonable price. And I was trying to make the case, we don't need to raise the residential rates. We've already cut out what we were losing on, that they were subsidized. Why do we need to raise them? And everybody can't make everything fit in a Herbie every week. They can't. There's a lot of things that won't fit in a
But there's
Herbie.
an ordinance says that it can't be sitting on the ground too, aren't there? Am I right on that? We have an ordinance? If you can't, it's gotta be in a container?
My thought process on that.
That's what I'm saying.
I think it depends on how large your family is.
Right.
You know, I can get by with one Kirby.
Well, I've got two,
But if I had 5 kids, I'd probably get I'd pay the $5 for the Kirby.
Well, I've got two, but we use it.
Herbie.
We put it out every other week. I put 2 out. Well, I'll pay the extra $5 because I got 6 grandkids. You know.
Well, there you go.
I don't have a
I
problem.
got 7. I make them haul it on to the garbage dump.
Take it down to my house.
Make them take it home.
I make them take it to Marvin's. He's got 3. No, I'm kidding.
I'm gonna ask this, or maybe just pose this as a thought. If we do say that Marvin's gotta pay an extra $5, not everybody's gonna wanna pay that extra $5, and I just wonder if more stuff is gonna end up on the ground, and that might have already been said.
Yeah, that's the point I made
It was.
last
We
time.
discussed that.
Yeah.
And if, I'm just throwing this out, if we were doing the curbside recycling thing right now, and we were gonna say, all right, we're gonna be charging an extra, whatever, $3 a month, in my mind, that would be a good time to say, okay, we're gonna do the recycling, and that's gonna take some pressure off your container, so maybe you can get down to the 1 container, and now but we are gonna charge.
Then you're gonna cut the cost.
Yeah, we're gonna, right, or if you decide to keep 2 Herbies, then we are gonna put the $5. You know, those 2 things might go hand in hand pretty well, and I know that's just not where we are, but if we were,
option.
that would.
But where we were 15 years ago and where we are now is because of the changes that you made.
Difficult change.
Very difficult. So
Meetings,
now
far
we're
more
making.
contentious than this, I think.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
now
yeah.
we're getting ready to make additional changes because curbside recycling has been on the table and talked about ever since I've been on council. And I feel like that since we've had the consultants in here and we have a plan, some kind of a roadmap to go by, it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it's something that we can go by.
Yeah, I wouldn't, for me personally, again, I'd rather wait until we get ready to do the curbside and say, at that time, we're gonna put the $5 on the second Herbie. Because we're giving them an option for the curbside recycling, to take that pressure off. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
But,
And unfortunately,
I know, that's not an option.
the timing doesn't
I know,
doesn't
I know.
line up perfectly.
I agree.
But what we don't want to do is, it's not our goal to bring the council an ordinance that you don't feel like you can be successful with, which is one of the reasons why we thought the committee, and we thought it'd be a good idea to have a first reading and change the senior citizens benefit.
It was.
But we still, even with that said, we don't want to bring you an ordinance that will fail. I'd be happy to, on this idea of, that kind of underpins our residential solution going forward was the $5 charge for the second Herbie. If you all want to do a straw vote on that and give us some direction on how we move forward, we can consider that. Yes, sir, Mark.
The new Herbies that we're purchasing as of today moving forward, are they all the same size, or are we still ordering 2 different sizes?
We haven't ordered 2 different sizes since 2008.
Okay, so
96 gallons.
They're all the big
They're-
ones.
They're all 96 gallons.
they're all 96. So if we have,
And we would have to add another line item to get smaller Herbies,
oh, no,
because we used the 500 within a year that we order now.
the small Herbies that we had,
Yeah, they only, I think
How-
they only ordered them one time.
Yeah, we
They-
got,
According to the guys, according to Frank, they haven't ordered those since 2008.
okay, what size are they?
64 gallon was the smaller size until you hit
So-
D.
If we have somebody out there in the community that has a small Herbie, or maybe they have two small Herbies,
Well, they were only supposed to go to senior citizens. So for example, I got a call last week from a fellow who bought a house in Bradford that said an elderly lady had lived in his house.
Exactly.
She passed away, she had a small can, and he wanted a bigger can, so we switched it out. We have some small cans, we've probably got 20 out the shop. I don't know how many's out there. I mean, you know, we replace cans every year, every day for breaks. They only last so long. So, I mean, the big problem there is getting an inventory on how many 64-gallon cans are still out there.
But when he called, you just switched it out, right? You brought the little one back?
Yeah,
and
he
you
was a
got-
senior, so,
Yeah.
you know, and so we switched it out.
So my question would be though, as you just stated in this case, as people move, for whatever reason, a new homeowner takes over and they've got a small can and then they've ordered a larger can. We're gonna give those homeowners an opportunity to do away with that small can and just have the large can,
Yeah.
so that we're gonna give them
Yeah,
an
we're doing that
opportunity
now.
as well.
It's not changing.
Yeah, we do that now.
So that's gonna continue.
If we pass this ordinance in the way it was, anybody who had a small can right now could request a full-size can at
Same.
there's
Yeah.
no additional cost.
Switch them out.
Yes, and you know, you have some elderly people that want the small can because they don't want to fool with the extra 30-gallon of the can. Get it to them.
Is there a way by the next, before we have our second reading on this, at our next meeting, to find out precisely how many people, I know you said 10 to 15%, how many people truly do have two cans? Is there a way that we can,
Well, we can try, you know, we'll have to look at the routes, but, you know, right now, it's vacation season, some people don't even put their cans out, you know, every day when they're gone on vacation, so we can get close. I'm thinking 10 or 15% is pretty close right now. But,
so do we have written records though?
well, we have records. And everything since we've been there has been put in if they request a can, and a second can. And there was some gaps in between. They were kept good and they weren't kept good. And that's the problem we got.
Thanks.
Tom, what was you wanting to straw vote on what? I caught part of it.
If it's the will of the council to charge $5 for the second can,
And if not, we'll strike it out.
and if not, we'll strike it out.
Okay.
We're gonna do whatever you all direct us to do.
Straw vote.
We can listen to the consultants, and we can bring you our best judgment. But the way this is structured, it's your all's decision.
I do think it's worth stating, we put that provision in there because the consultants told us it's standard practice to charge for another herb.
Right.
We admittedly, you know, the $5 in itself is subject to change. But whether the fee's not there or not is,
If the council doesn't wish to charge, it's your all's choice. We can offer a service and we can give some people twice as much service and keep the price the same.
As the other person next door.
That doesn't seem exactly fair, but those are decisions you all get to make.
One thing that the consultant said that was a lot of places, I looked on a lot of websites, if they get the second can, you know, they can keep it for 6 months, a year, and if they don't want it, we'll go get it, or they'll go get it. One thing you gotta remember, the $5, it takes a full year just to pay for the cost of that can, because the cans are $60.
$60.
Yeah, I just got you multiplying it.
Now, originally, David, Marvin, didn't we were in there that we had, if you got the extra can, you bought the can.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I did.
We were still doing that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had to change, I mean,
But we're not doing it now.
$5,000, people bought extra cans, we took them, they didn't
They
pay.
still have, now they still have to pay for the can.
They have to pay up front.
Plus the $5 if they get the extra one.
No.
No.
They get a year
No.
year
They
on
wouldn't have
that.
to pay for the can. We
Right,
charge
if you're
$5.
charging $5, you don't have to pay for the can.
Okay.
The difference is, with this,
It's
they're
ongoing.
paying for, exactly, they're paying 1 year for a
About
can,
1 year.
but then after that, they'd still be, basically, each year they're paying for a can.
But the 1,100 people that already have the cans paid for them, and they're gonna get raised $5.
Yes.
No.
Well,
Well,
there was a grace period if you had your can less than a year. you would get-
But how many did we have out there a year ago?
Well, Judith's got all the records since we've been there.
One other
So we
question.
know the ones.
Just a second can.
So, all the extra that we have laying on the side, how many people are gonna have to buy a second can or get a second can to not have the extra laying on the side? I mean, it's been admitted, that's a huge problem. So if we're not gonna
I
pick it
guess
up
the closest
anymore,
answer I could tell you would be, we pick up about 8 to 10 tons on 3 routes by having an overflow truck go through. The automated trucks, so we got 3 routes of those. We'll send a truck behind those, and he gets about 8 to 10 tons a day, overflow truck. So
we're gonna say that
I
no
don't know how to
overflow.
break that down, I'd have to look at the number of customers.
We're gonna start saying we're not gonna pick up overflow, so then how many people are gonna have to have a second can?
Well, part of the overflow problem is too, people's trash is out they have to have it out by 7 o'clock on Tuesday morning. On their way out for work, they'll take a bag, and throw it by the can, even though it will fit. That's another problem,
Well, some people don't wanna buy the can.
Right.
So they just lay it out there.
But what I'm saying, the can will hold it, they just won't throw it in the can. They'll just
Can's
throw it-
half full and the garbage sitting on the ground, is what he's saying.
The whole purpose of having the consultants come in and do this anyway is the fact that whether you buy the can, you're spending money on the wages for somebody to pick it up.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
trying
and
to.
I mean,
Time,
it's a
money.
balance thing here. I mean, you're,
Well, I have a question.
So the question was, how many people are gonna have to buy a second can to cover the waste, the extra overflow that we're having a problem with now?
Well, I
So if
think
you have
that'd be
50,
hard to answer, but if you had the, allowed overflow,
just to guess, I mean, knowing how much overflow we have. I mean, I go down my
Okay,
neighborhood and half the
minute.
people have it, stuff sitting on the side.
I would say 20%.
I don't see it in our subdivision.
That's a
You
guess,
got
that may be high.
10 tons of garbage in a truck every pickup, that's a whole lot of garbage.
Our-
Seems not right, it just seems like.
Our practice has been, Marvin kind of hit it earlier, we want our community to look clean.
Right.
We think our job is to pick up garbage and to make our community look cleaner. So even if people are doing set out, or people are having stuff outside the Herbie, even though it does not align with our ordinance,
still pick.
we are still picking it up.
But the plan is not to, right?
Yeah, finished.
Okay, I thought you were done,
The plan is that we will continue to pick up all the trash. There was a small mutiny against a council that tried to do that too quickly.
I understand that.
We have acknowledged since we began this process that we're not going to change anything quickly about any of this service. It takes a long time to educate people before, we're not going to stop picking up overflow tomorrow. Do eventually we intend to have a plan to stop overflow? Absolutely. And will we tie it to free set-out days? Absolutely. Do we have that ready for you tonight? No, sir, we don't.
And you know, my 20% might be high, but I just know we pick up a lot, but, majority of people try to do the right thing. We get calls all the time, we'll tell them to, overflow also is somebody buys a new couch and they set an old couch on, and we go pick it up. Right now the ordinance says we charge for that, but they quit that a long time ago because it's hard to do. It's a paperwork nightmare. We allow a couple times a year, and this is what we tell them exactly. You know, if you've got a couch, if you've got a new box spring or mattress, 3 or 4 times a year, we allow that. It's the ones that wanna do that every week that, you know, is where we're cheating the rest of the city.
If we were able to weigh everybody's garbage and charge them by that, I'm all for that.
Yeah, we can't.
Everybody pays for what they use. We can't do
We
that.
can't do
I just think a better answer is one rate and let people have 2 cans. And that way you keep the stuff off the ground and you keep it clean.
Well, you're gonna have that for a year if they get a can.
Do
They're not
what?
gonna be they're not, you know, you can buy the can,
Yeah.
buy the can for a year, you went, you know, vice versa, same way. Charge you $5 a month for the can.
Sorry,
Go
didn't mean
ahead.
to cut you off. The only other thing I was gonna add, and I don't think we've touched on it yet, is we have made significant investments for how many years now in these one-arm garbage trucks?
That's what we're going with.
It's been going on for many years, or at least 5 or 6 years, if maybe not a little longer.
Yeah, we have 3 and we're budgeted to buy 4.
And,
it. They're well worth the money, trust me.
and if that's where we're headed, which, to make it more efficient, to make it uniform and cleaner, then, you know, again, it might be painful to do it, but if you're gonna take a straw vote, I'll go ahead and, I'm in support of doing it. I'll go ahead and, if we're doing a straw vote, then I'd say we move forward.
Since straw votes aren't binding, we just want to kind of get a feel for how we should proceed. I can just let folks go around and say if they're comfortable with an additional charge for an additional Herbie or not. Is that a fair way to phrase it?
To be yes or no. Yes, we are, no, we're not.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we are okay with,
Yes, we are for the $5.
Yes.
Extra can.
so,
Yes.
are you okay, Polly, with that notion?
Yes.
I'd rather wait, honestly. I worry a little bit about people being too tight on it and saying, oh, I'm not gonna get the second Harvey when they really need it, it's gonna end up on the ground. I do worry about that. And then I feel like what I said a little while ago about trying to encourage the recycling, justifying the recycling, that maybe that would be a good time to implement that extra $5 fee. And I know we're not there, can't do anything about that, but it's just, that's my preference. That's my preference. And I feel like maybe administratively, and I'm sure you all follow about that, but administratively, sometimes things aren't worth the effort. And I wonder if maybe this extra $5 might be one of these situations that might not be worth the effort. I don't know the answer to it.
Well, that's,
But I've seen a lot of things in public works kind of come and go, like you were talking about. It seemed like great ideas, and then when we got into it, administratively, it just wasn't worth collecting the money for that couch or that love chair or whatever that
yeah.
appliance was.
Well, the problem with that was is we have to do the billing.
Yeah.
You don't recoup.
You gotta
For
set somebody up
$10,
to do the billing,
and take
and then
the
the
time.
money you spend doing the billing.
Yeah.
But if we're not doing the
But
billing,
the
it's on
$5
Georgetown.
would go, I'll be on the water bill.
Yeah.
be on the water bill.
I know, but there's gonna be transition, there's gonna be people changing from 1
I
to
thought
2,
we
2 to
were
1, whatever, 2 to 3. I'm just throwing it out. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to be really
Yeah,
constructive.
there's issues we gotta work through with
I know.
whatever ordinance y'all
But
pass.
don't you have to do that the same way if you get the recycling? Isn't that gonna be a billing nightmare as well?
Well, I see that as being a across the board blanket increase of $3, just like a rate increase.
And it's on the water bill?
That's correct.
So why
But
wouldn't
it
the
impacts
$5 be on
everybody.
them?
The $5 though is not gonna be everybody. It's just we're gonna have to
Who
figure
needs a
out,
can?
they're gonna figure out who it is. And then when people get that extra $5, I guarantee you some people are gonna drop it. They're gonna say,
And
I'm
they
not
won't
paying.
get it for a year if you get a can, correct?
Huh?
They can either buy their can,
Well, no, they won't have to buy the can.
so they're actually getting the can free, but they're paying for that can for
$5
a
a
year.
month.
$5 a month.
No, they're paying for that can for the rest of their
Well-
life
No,
there.
No, they're only required to keep it for
1 year.
1 year.
Well, yeah, but as long as they've got it, as long as they're there and needing it, then they're gonna
But
be
they're
paying
told
for it.
ahead of time, if you keep it,
You gotta pay that.
you're gonna continue to pay for it. If you decide you don't want it, you can
Send it
give it
back.
up. You have that choice.
Personal, and this is just personal. I'd rather spend the $65 for the can and then have it for for the next 5 years.
But that's not gonna play out.
No, it's not.
We finally figured out that doesn't work with the city. So we're trying to find something that works. David, I appreciate everything you said, but I wasn't sure if you said yes or no.
He never did, Tom.
Never did. He said maybe.
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Just so David will feel more comfortable, no.
I'm a team player, Mayor.
So you said yes?
I'm coming back, Connie?
I'm saying yes, and this is why I'm saying yes, because you gotta start somewhere. Everything's not implemented. They're not trying to do anything to anybody, and they're gonna still take care of them while they're going through the process of implementation. And we're gonna have other stuff come back to us. So this is what we're doing. It's a process. So, yes.
Chuck?
You have any doubt?
That was a process.
Thought I gave you the opportunity, man.
Did he say yes?
That's a no. Mark? Mark, you kind of started, but back to you, to a yes. Thank you. So at this point, it's 4 yeses, 2 nos.
And I don't have an idea over here.
No, I do. Mine's a moot point though at this juncture, so.
So what was it?
Then we'll bring
Oh,
the
that's a
ordinance.
cop-out,
Oh,
David. You gotta vote.
We'll go ahead and bring the ordinance back to you as it's currently written for second reading, and then we can do all this again in 2 more weeks.
There you go.
I will say, compared to some discussions, trash discussions we've had in the past, this has been quite pleasant with
Well,
each other.
but we're not through.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a little bit.
Well, as I
Because
said,
we got the next agenda item yet to go, and it's trash also.
Keeping in mind that you do it in baby steps, and you're taking your time doing it, and you're making implementations as you go. And it's gonna have to be tweaked.
Yeah.
You have an idea,
Yeah.
but there's gonna be some changes. People do it all the time.
and
In
if you
business
don't
and-
want your second can you got, you can have them pick it up. They're still gonna pick up the garbage that's just sitting on the outside the can until we get an ordinance that stops it completely.
Yeah.
And if you want an extra can, pay $5 for the first year. If you don't want it after a year, then you send it back.
It's all an
Right.
attitude.
Yeah.
My Dish Network, they've changed my, it's new. Go on there to the info button, I'm like, wait, they changed that.
And you know what I did?
And they didn't send me nothing to tell me.
And you know what I did? I got rid of mine.
So you gonna get rid of your can, right?
I gotta have a trash can though.
I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm glad I'm on vacation. I don't have to get up early in the morning.
The next item on the agenda, under city attorney, it also has to do with trash and recycling, more garbage. We've been working for some time on getting a contract with Lexington's Recycling Center, so rather than us sorting our material here
Right.
and selling it, we'll just take it single stream to Lexington. And we think we can achieve a substantial savings from what the recycling center is costing us today.
Best thing to do.
So we have an MOU that will approve us to assign the documents with Lexington and start taking our single stream recycling to Lexington, which will let us evaluate that resource and help us if we want to go to curbside recycling. This is an important step
See how
to see how it works
Yeah.
and how that goes. We bring you no simple issues tonight.
Thank you.
This one seems straightforward enough. But in the MOU, if you've looked at it, you'll see we estimate the amount of savings to come from this. And the way we've calculated the savings to come from this is reducing the number of employees necessary at the recycling center. And that translates into a savings to our sanitation fund. The difficulty and what you all will need to decide is we have a list of about 35 customers, 30 to 40, about 40 customers, from schools to businesses that at some point in the past, when we were, I assume, trying to grow recycling volume, we started saying, we'll come pick up
So
your
this is the
cardboard.
stuff, yes.
For free.
Yeah.
The difficulty now is that we're doing this for about 40 customers. We're not doing it for other customers. And we have people calling and asking for the service, and we're telling them that we can't do it. But we're doing it for about 40 places. The cost of doing it is about 4 times higher than what the cardboard's worth. It's a significant loss we're taking. But that is taking a service away that we've been giving to these 35 or 40 businesses, locations. We think that because we're not offering it to everybody, it's fundamentally not fair. And plus the fact we're losing 4 times what it cost us to provide that service, we think we should consider stopping to do that. So the MOU that we want you to approve tonight is straightforward, and we can go ahead and approve it. But it talks about the savings being $46,000 annually. That's to be split between city and county. If we don't get out of this cardboard arrangement we're in, these savings will be half.
That actually is half.
That is half?
That's half of the 90, so.
That's our side. But if we don't get out of the cardboard business, our savings will be more like 12.
Yeah.
So it's a really difficult decision. We don't want to take a service away from businesses that are used to us picking up their cardboard. But we don't offer it to everyone, and we can't afford to keep offering it. What I thought we'd do is, why don't we send you a list of the 40 locations that are involved, so you can get a feel for the list, and be thinking about this for the next meeting. It'll make our savings here more real than it'll make these savings real. Where if we stay in that business, we can get rid of a full-time employee. This is costing us a full-time employee and the use of a truck for all the time.
Yeah, and the problem you've got right now, because I'm one of the businesses that's on there, which is a lovely, lovely thing to do. But, but one of the things I've noticed now, it used to be any of the guys could come out and pick it up, and now with the change in the insurance or whatever, now you have to have one of our real city employees with one of the part-timers, and so they send 2 people out. So it goes back to the same thing with the trash truck. You're using too many employees to do the same thing.
Well, what we used to do was we would send a temporary out.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then, but now it's just one full-time employee. They shouldn't be sending that extra person. I'll find out about that.
Okay. All right. And then I have another question on the this with the glass. Are we going to start taking the glass and taking it over there, or not, because of the weight and how?
We don't have to.
Okay.
We can. We don't have to.
Okay.
Glass is a big thing.
Well,
I've had a lot of people mention that to me.
Yeah, because
Because
a
I
lot
take
of
mine to
places
the co-op.
just don't take it anymore.
Yeah.
But it adds to your weight.
It does.
Is
have
it
to be
a
weight,
positive then in the?
No, it's not positive.
Oh, okay, that's what I was thinking. I thought it was a big negative. Okay. Then I'm right on it.
We're
Okay.
gonna pay by the weight.
Okay.
The way Lexington's set up is, you're gonna pay a percentage of whatever glass they bring in that time period. Everybody that brings stuff in, whether you bring glass or not, is gonna pay for a percentage.
Yeah.
Where the savings would be is where we didn't have it and our weight would be lower.
Okay.
Because glass is heavy, they have to pay $15 or $20 a ton just to get rid of it.
So it's actually better to say that's one of the things that's recycle. The recycling center can make the decision to say we're still not taking glass, and because it's really better to dump that in the garbage.
That's what I'd recommend not taking the glass, just because
Okay.
of the cost.
Okay, that was I read through it. That was the only thing I had. I saw the glass down here, and they had a price to it, and that was the thing I was concerned about, taking the glass.
So recycling, no glass,
We don't take it right now.
and that's the plan
And
down
that's
the
what
road
we would
too.
like to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, shall we read the municipal order?
An order approving a memorandum of agreement with LFUCG for processing of recycled materials and authorizing the mayor to sign all documents. Whereas the city of Georgetown seeks to convert its recycling center from a multiple stream sorting facility to a single stream operation. And whereas the city has negotiated a memorandum of agreement with Lexington, Fayette, Urban County government for receiving, processing, shipping, and marketing recovered materials. And whereas the cost of the service is a formula based on total recovered material from LFUCG and all other affiliates minus certain costs and applicable penalties. And whereas contracting with LFUCG and changing the recycling center operations will save the city of Georgetown an estimated $46,600 annually. Now therefore, it is hereby ordered by the Georgetown City Council that the attached MOA with LFUCG is hereby approved and the mayor is authorized to sign all relevant documents.
Motion, Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Yes, sir.
Have we had much communication with the entities that are involved or impacted by this?
Over the cardboard,
Entities.
The groups, whatever.
the cardboard that we're
businesses.
picking up front.
No, not yet. We just in discussion.
We've
I just wonder
we've
how
had
that-
no communication.
I just wonder how they're gonna, what's their option? You know, do they have a?
They can still, I mean, their option is they could either get a private company to do it, which they have to pay, or they can still bring it. We just wouldn't pick it up.
A lot of folks
We'll
are
still-
drunk or their pickup truck and still bring it to us.
Yeah.
We'll still take it. It's not that we won't take it.
Yeah, we will certainly still take
It's the convenience factor.
it. It's just the picking it up and bringing it back to our place as the service that we want to talk about.
Mayor, got a quick question.
Sir.
The $46,000 estimated savings annually, does that include the labor and maintenance, transportation, all the extra costs for taking it from here to Lexington? Is that included?
Yeah, we would see some costs. We wouldn't, right now we have two fork trucks. We wouldn't need two. There is gonna be a cost of, we're gonna use the truck we use now for the dumpsters, clean it up. That's what we would take to Lexington in, the garbage truck. Now, there will be some costs to maintain that, but we think by the balers that we use now, we have 4 balers that we have to maintain, and we won't have them. So we're hoping that what we're losing on this side will even out with the truck and everything.
You have an idea how many estimated trips it's gonna be, either weekly or monthly, or?
I don't think no more than one a day.
Okay.
And you know, I'm thinking 4 to 5 times a week. Just by, I think we did about 700 and some tons. You're not gonna get a full 8 to 10 tons on the truck. It'll hold 10. Not gonna get the full because cardboard takes up a lot of space and doesn't weigh as much as garbage. So I'm thinking, no more than a trip a day. But it's the same amount distance from there from the recycling center to Lexington it is from the recycling center to landfill.
We have a motion and a second on the municipal order. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Robert.
Little ball.
Yes, sir. We'll let you.
Robert, I'll call you in the morning.
Okay.
Next on the agenda, item 8 under city engineer is a resolution concerning accepting our MAP funds. Thank you. That one I think we'll all agree on. Motion's been made and seconded.
A lot of Tracy reading there.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Let's see. Item 9 on the agenda. Stacy has been so dutifully sitting over there waiting for the budget amendment. Tonight we have second reading of the budget amendment to help us clean up here at the end of the financial year. And we'll take 2 actions. We'll approve second reading of the budget, and then because we're carrying over funds for projects that we still intend to do, we have a municipal order assigning some of our fund balance to those projects. So, can we read it by summary?
An ordinance amending the annual budget ordinance for fiscal year July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017. Summary, general fund. Prior year revenue is increased by $49,930.76. Intergovernmental revenue is increased by $132,377.50. Building permit revenue is increased by $28,500. Other revenues are increased by $8,369. General government expenses are increased by $6,500. Police department expenses are increased by $55,278.68. Fire department expenses are increased by $32,428.72. Dispatch expenses are increased by $52,898.12. Public works expenses are increased by $1,626.74. City engineer expenses are increased by $3,000. Interlocal expenses are increased by $36,750. Transfers to other funds are increased by $20,605. Debt service expenses are increased by $10,090. Business park fund. Intergovernmental revenue is increased by $100,000. Land sale revenue is decreased by $15,750. Transfers from other funds are decreased by $67,528. Professional service expenses are increased by $13,242. Debt service expenses are increased by $3,480. Grant fund. Local grant revenue is increased by $1,642. Federal grant revenue is decreased by $25,000. General government expenses are increased by $1,642. Police department expenses are decreased by $25,000. Cemetery operating fund. Lot sale revenue is increased by $2,774. Intergovernmental revenue is increased by $3,693. Transfers from other funds are increased by $3,693. Cemetery expenses are increased by $10,160. Capital projects fund. Transfers from other funds are increased by $84,440. Capital expenses are increased by $84,440. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall take effect after its passage and publication according to law. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the city clerk's office, 100 North 4th Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324. Publicly introduced and read for the first time June 12, 2017. Publicly read the second time June 26, 2017.
I make a motion.
Thank you. Motion's been made.
Second.
Second. And may I add, just scintillating the way you read a budget summary.
I second that.
And how?
Especially when it's over with and done, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shall we call the roll?
Mr. Bradley.
Yes.
Mrs. Singer Eardley.
Yes.
Mr. Leslie. Mr. Showalter.
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sains.
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett.
Yes.
And Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. And next should follow the municipal order assigning fund balance.
No.
See,
An order assigning $320,650 of the general fund balance as of June 30th, 2017 for projects and obligations to be spent in fiscal year 2018. Whereas the city adopted a policy for the establishment and allocation of committed and assigned fund balances via municipal order 11026, and whereas the city council may assign fund balance to be used for specific projects or purposes, and such assignments should be approved prior to June 30th of the current fiscal year for proper presentation in the city's audit and financial statements, and whereas the city intends to assign $320,650 of the general fund balance for capital projects or contractual obligations for use in the 2017-2018 fiscal year as outlined in the attached memorandum. Now therefore it is hereby ordered by the Georgetown City Council that assignment of $320,650 of the general fund balance at June 30, 2017 for capital projects and contractual obligations to be completed in fiscal year 2018, for which a memorandum detailing said projects and obligations is attached and incorporated herein by reference, is approved, and that the mayor is authorized to sign all relevant documents.
Thank you.
motion.
Second.
Motion's been made, second.
See, this girl in a hurry to go home.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I am inclined to agree with.
Okay. Let's see, next on the agenda is another second reading of an ordinance amending the personnel ordinance sponsored by Ms. Eardley, and this adds the 2 police officers, Chief, completes creating their 2 new positions. Well, we can buy them cars.
Here, I got on computer, Tracy.
Find it?
You really have it?
No. I thought I
What,
did.
the municipal
I'll pull it up, hold on.
Here.
amending to the code of ordinance to increase the number of police officer positions?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we're reading?
Yes. She got her
That's
Summary.
It's all good.
All good, we got
Thanks.
some.
Thanks.
Oh, okay.
We're just hand
It's all right.
Summary, amend section 2-111C of the Code of Ordinances, which sets forth the declassifications, associated pay grades, and authorized positions for each department to increase the number of police officers to grade 6 positions from 39 to 41 in the police department. 2, provides for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, severability of provisions, and effective date upon passage of publication. Full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 100 North Court Street, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324. Introduced and publicly read for the first time June 12, 2017, publicly read the second time June 26, 2017.
Motion.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. If there are no questions, we'll call the roll.
That was Connie and Polly, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Singer Erdley?
Yes.
Mr. Lesby? Mr. Showalter?
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames?
Yes.
Mrs. Tackett?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance passes. Item 11 on your agenda is a municipal order to replace and upfit 2 police vehicles. These are in addition to what we're going to buy in the budget.
Right.
These were the result of accidents. And the good news is that between the insurance settlement and drug forfeiture money, we've been able to replace both cars with new cars and no additional budget drain. So,
Need a
Nice
motion?
looking cars too, I might
For
add.
approval
Right.
for 2 new Camrys.
It doesn't say Camry on there.
Or the vehicle.
It's in-
or the vehicles.
Or the vehicle.
I'll second whatever you buy.
There you go. Thank you.
Volkswagen.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
One of these cars that we lost was an older car, and one was very new.
So you came back.
So with
Yes,
the older one being replaced, we actually benefited our rotation by one.
Yeah, you
It's
will.
good.
And
That's good.
You will.
helps us keep up chief by
Now we're
Got
in.
it.
next year. We'll try and keep you there. And I'm delighted to tell you that we have no need for an executive session and no need for item 13 on the agenda.
Yay.
I thought I'd just hold that right to the end to surprise you.
That was
So-
a good surprise.
I thought
Santa
it might
Claus.
be.
Yay.
So we can then go to council comments and be done with the evening. Mark, would you like to start?
I'm good.
You good? Chuck?
I have two issues, I guess,
Yes,
people
sir.
called me about. I guess one person called me about both of them. It had to do with water. One of them was the park. I think you guys may already be aware of this. I don't know. Where we had sold that easement or that strip to CJ May. They were saying the way he's done the parking lot, it made the water flow onto the softball field, and they weren't able to use it. So I said I'd bring it up tonight.
Yeah, I'll need to go take a look at that. I hadn't been out since he made the changes.
But if he did that, if he paved that, David, wouldn't he have to get planning and zoning to
Regrade it? I don't know.
prove the water flow? Or,
If he changed the landscape, yes, but just repaving, no.
no, it was grass before,
No, I think he did.
and now he's got gravel
Okay.
there.
Okay.
He hasn't paved it yet.
We'll look into that.
Okay, and then the same person that called me about that, this fellow's a manager, it's David Livingston, okay? And, he has somebody called him about the property over behind Arby's. And I told him I didn't think there was anything we do, but I told him I'd ask him about it. You know where they built up the piece right on the road, now it's running, it's making the water flow over onto the new landscaping business.
We talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an ongoing issue. You're talking about the guy that
Yeah.
got the,
They got a permit.
yeah.
Yeah, they got it from the Division of
They've got
Water.
everything legally done,
Yeah.
they say.
What's amazing, Chuck, the guy who put the fill on that lot, and I'm not sure who it is, but I was told that that was a request by the Division of Water.
That's what
It
you,
was.
Yeah,
the
that's
I
what
State
asked
they
made him
questions,
put
that's
it
what
in
you
there,
told.
put.
Yeah, they
be able
did.
to- To be able to put his, what is it, a, flower
I'm not sure.
sod, yeah, whatever. He had
Yeah.
to build that up, put that up in
No,
there.
he's the guy that's complaining,
He is.
because it's the lot that's for sale next to it.
Lot for sale.
That he says they built it up, this is what David told me, they built it up 4 feet higher than what
Yeah,
the
this-
permit said, and it's making the water flow onto the landscaping guy's property.
Well, then that's the question, did the Division of Water, because we had this conversation one of the other times, but did the Division of Water then say it was supposed to be X amount high, and he's gone over that?
Yeah.
I think we'd be glad to find.
Division of Water had to come look at it.
I
Yeah.
told David, I said, if it's a water that's run over, or if it was the creek, it's probably two different issues, right?
I don't think it can get from the creek to the new landscape company
Yeah.
unless water runs uphill and back down.
No, actually, it can.
If it comes in and
never
flows back,
know.
Well,
It comes over.
Arby's has been flooded.
Yeah, it comes over the back, it comes back behind the trailer park,
And behind.
and it comes down, would
Yeah.
come down to the side of their property, and then where they built this up, what it would have done, where it would have come down this direction, that's then pushed it over this way. So it would come onto her property off the creek,
Right.
if the creek got high enough, because it actually comes from the trailer park in the back strip.
As it got high
There's a
enough,
wide
yeah.
strip
Well,
back
It's
there.
Sure
had
did.
plenty of chances to get high enough.
This weekend it did.
Yeah, I've seen it many, many years do that, so.
I told David, I didn't think it was anything that we could do anything about. Is that,
Well, we need
We can
to,
have people who can look into it.
we'll at least get some facts that he can work from. and We'll get those.
all right.
Anything
That's all.
else?
That's it.
Connie?
No, sir, thank you.
Ms. Kane?
I was out walking Sunday morning, which I sent you the picture
Yes.
of the tree.
I didn't see it until significantly later.
Well, that's okay. The tree is gone. And then another thing.
Texted me at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Yeah,
For what
I did.
reason?
Yeah, I'm out walking
A
and
tree down on North Broadway.
that's what I tell the mayor, all the stuff, little stuff needs to be done. But then up on the bridge going up, there's the poison ivy. There's poke vine going up, poison ivy going up, and it's crawling over the bridge. So if somebody's putting their hand across there for any reason or sitting on there, they're gonna be sitting in poison ivy. It's really healthy.
That's not
Yeah,
Great.
so just
Spread
FYI.
that sucker. Move on.
good. Is that the Viaduct Bridge?
Mm-hmm, it is, yeah.
Two things real quick, and one of them relates to Fire Station, I believe, number 2 across from Frank Shoot. I noticed the row of trees have been impacted, maybe by I guess the ash borer. I don't know if they're ash trees. I'm
Yeah.
not 100% sure, but they look really bad. They certainly aren't.
Are they dead?
They will be.
They will
If
be.
they're
not.
ash.
Yeah. I don't know if they are, but,
Contacted the state, that's what the state.
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, a year and a half ago, we talked to them a couple different times. The diameter of the tree requires them to sub that out, and they haven't gotten to it. We'll be glad to take them down. I mean, our guys have said so numerous times, but just being in the state right away, we didn't wanna
They make good
step on their
firewood.
toes, but.
They don't make good lumber out of that no more. It's just a disease.
I don't know. It doesn't look good, and I'm glad that you all are proactive.
Like I say, we've looked into it, but we're at the state's mercy on it unless you give us a green light and send a chipper truck.
Well, we may do that. We've got some places in town where it's clearly the state's responsibility to mow.
They're not doing it.
We're doing a little bit just because we want it to look better. And we had a couple of citizen complaints that when I went out and looked, they made real sense to me.
Sure.
It is a state right of way, but it's something that clearly ought to be mowed and it makes the community look better. So.
There's
we'll be
probably
glad to take a
5
look.
trees.
Yeah.
I don't know
Let's
exactly, but
revisit
there's
that.
probably at least 5 trees through there.
At least.
There'll be a lot of good firewood for somebody.
And I don't mind replant. I mean, whatever looks, it's starting to look really bad. And the other thing I was gonna mention that I think maybe it'd be worth us thinking about, maybe we need to have a conversation with planning and zoning. Obviously, they've got a very thick sign ordinance, but it seems like when it comes to the actual look of buildings. You know, they're concerned about how, and we all are, we're all concerned about how signage looks. But I guess I'm wondering why some of the buildings in Georgetown that are being constructed maybe aren't as up to scale or as nice as, you know, there's in some other communities. I don't know, Mayor, if you've already heard some of this or not. But I'll give you one example. It's across from Wendy's, that the gas station, I guess, is under construction right now. You know, I mean, that's one of the most prominent corners in Georgetown. And I don't know what the end result's gonna look like, but right now it looks like a Morton building.
Yeah.
I know. And, you know, and obviously we had concerns downtown Georgetown, when the bakery was being built, and some things took place to make that, to improve that. But this gas station, you know, hopefully we'll all be pleasantly surprised, but right now it's not looking very favorable. And then the other one was the O'Reilly's restaurant, and it seems like it looks nice, but when you look at the brand new one in Frankfurt, it's got about a 4 or 5 foot brick skirt all the way around the front and both sides. And then it's got a nice looking architectural feature on the front of it, where ours doesn't have either one of those two accents.
The O'Reilly Auto
Auto
Parts.
Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I said, I was trying to figure out where the restaurant was.
I'm
You
sorry.
said, I
Because you're
said,
thinking restaurant too.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
O'Reilly's
we
Auto
all were getting ready to go there, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, David, it's a good point, because there have been times in the past when we held out for better design. A great example, the Coles building. And even some of the development community were angered by the
Right.
fact that we forced Cole to do some things that were more Georgetown
Yeah.
appropriate.
You're right.
Yeah.
Really, all big boxes now have those. You're right.
And we were kind of on the front end of that. And I would like to think that we could do similar on other commercial buildings.
And again, I'm not trying to be critical, I'm trying to be constructive. I just think that, I mean, over the next 20 years, the impact that these things could have
Makes a big
on the
difference.
community.
Makes a big difference.
What worries me about that gas station, how you gonna turn left out of that place? You're not.
I don't know. There's other
their
examples, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. And Charlie Perkins used to say that you can't regulate tacky, and I'm not saying anybody's being tacky, but everybody has their own opinion
Right.
on
Yeah.
what
Oh,
looks
yeah.
good.
Well, it determines your city and the feel and the
It
scale of
does.
it, you
It
know,
does.
and
And I worry a little bit about
the
that
look.
gas station. I don't know what the end
Yeah.
result's gonna look like, but we all know right now, it looks like a metal building.
yeah, it does.
Yeah, and it's a good example of the tension that exists between when cities want to put in place design standards, we get major pushback. But there are times when we wish we had the tool
Right.
to use.
Yeah. And there's some really positive examples that look really good in this community. I mean, obviously Chick-fil-A looks really good,
Yeah.
Panera looks
Sure
really
does.
good, Raising Cane's looks good, and there's a long list,
Yeah,
a long
things
list,
that
but,
look good.
you know, Raising Cane's is a sharp looking.
It just takes
daggone
one in the
building.
middle of
Yeah.
them to make them all look bad though.
Yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned conversation with planning and zoning about the sign ordinance. You
Well,
mean
I'm
design guidelines?
The sign ordinance, as we've all kind of experienced, seems to be a hefty, sometimes cumbersome ordinance. And there's a lot of time, a lot of effort got spent on that. And I'm saying that I think we need to look at something that's even more significant and more permanent, and that'd be
Okay,
the
so you
architectural-
referenced the sign ordinance.
Yeah.
Just as a comparison.
As a comparison.
Okay. It'd be an interesting discussion.
Well,
Yes, it will.
Might be a good workshop,
yeah.
Yeah.
particularly since the narrative of the comprehensive plan is being written now and is gonna come back to us. Might be a natural time for some of that conversation to occur.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anything else, David?
I think that's it.
Marvin?
Nothing except, tomorrow night the fair starts. And, the Kiwanis Club is putting it on, of course. And just let you guys know, we sponsor about 35 different organizations, Mark, throughout the year. We give money to, about $38,000 that we, every penny we make off the fair, we give back to organizations in this community. So all your support is much appreciated. And we enjoy doing it. It's a lot of work, but.
Fair Week's hard on all Kiwanis.
All right.
Yeah, especially the ones that has to take vacation and be out there every night. It's
Aw.
tough. It's tough. But it's fun. It's well worth it. You know, we do, 250 underprivileged kids during Christmas. We have an Easter egg hunt. We put out, 12,000, 14,000 eggs are gone in a minute.
It's a
I mean,
minute to win.
It's just unreal. We, we give big prizes, but we like what we're doing. We just like everybody to come out and support us. That's what we're after.
Good, thank you. Holly?
Okay, yeah, I did have two things. The first one was Falls River. I think I have that name right.
Falls Creek.
Falls Creek, okay, Falls Creek. Creek River.
Long enough.
Same thing. Stars in Falls Creek. They're putting in sidewalks there, and I was stopped actually on the way here, a question about it. And this kind of relates to the planning and zoning and the I guess ordinances on it. From what I understand, street lights can't be put in until something is 80% built. Is that right?
Yeah, we have it's, I'm not sure if it's a formal standard, but what was happening was when we put in lights at an earlier point than that, KU is saying the lights were getting knocked down by the construction.
Oh, as they were coming in to work. Yeah.
Well,
Before they
like,
could
the
put it in.
truck would be backing up or the bulldozer or whatever. and
Yeah.
So they decided, let's not put in the lights.
So that's
until we
more
get to a
KU.
certain point.
Okay.
But there is, it's actually, I'm recalling it now, there is an ordinance
There is
on
an
it.
ordinance,
There
okay.
are provisions for if we determine
Mm-hmm.
that there's some safety issue or some,
Yeah.
overriding concern, that we
Yeah.
can bend that rule.
Oh,
It's
so,
sort of
okay.
a
Because
guideline.
that's what he was curious about, if there would be a way, because he said it's just more of a safety issue, and with the, that new gas station there, and cut-throughs and stuff,
The
and
apartments.
and the apartments, and just kind
the
of like,
houses on
they had an interest in going ahead and trying to get it done a little earlier, if they could,
The
so.
pushback we get is actually directly from KU.
Yeah, that's,
Because what
Makes
happens is
sense.
it gets knocked down and then
I
You gotta
can
come back, you
understand.
get
They gotta come
upset
back
because
do
they have to
it,
fix
and
it.
then
we're not responsible for it.
So,
Yeah.
it's okay.
But won't the station be lit up pretty good though?
Yeah, but Falls Creek runs all around Long.
I know.
Creek.
it
Yeah.
does,
It's
but
just a lot
Runs.
of,
that
lot of
cut-through,
dark
though, is-
spots in there.
Yeah, there are.
But that's gonna provide some that when there's not being.
Right.
Yeah, but I think they just wanted them on light, so.
Yeah, I've actually talked to several people about Falls Creek.
Oh, okay.
And their desire for streetlights.
Oh, okay.
And we've had these ongoing conversations, Polly, about our standard is an 80% build out, so we
Yeah.
don't knock as many down.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I can see that.
But the contrast to that is if I move into a neighborhood and my wife wants to walk around the block after dark, I want to feel good about that
Safety,
happening.
it's a safety
Yeah,
issue.
it
And
is,
I don't
yeah.
want my grandchild's bike to be stolen out of the side yard.
Yeah.
And those are things that citizens can expect.
Yeah, I
So-
think that.
So I think we're always trying to evaluate this 80% versus
Yeah.
what's fair to the people that
Yeah.
live there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, it is. Well, I've
And
heard
that's
it.
the question that you're
Yeah.
being asked about.
Yeah, well, I've
is-
heard it before, from different people too, and just kind of a frustration with it, so.
And
Yeah.
it brings us back to all of we have a lot of standards on the books for when you have to build your sidewalks.
Yeah.
When you have to put in
Yeah.
your streetlights.
Yeah.
When do you have to do certain things?
You can blacktop
And-
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And people want it done early, but then if houses are still being built, concrete trucks back over sidewalks
Yeah.
and break them and crack them, and they knock down streetlights. So it's a tension that we'll always have to try and
Yeah,
balance.
it is. Oh, yeah, and it changes, and different
but
subdivisions have different.
I
things.
get it when people say they want safety lights.
Yeah.
And I would
There.
feel the same way.
Yeah, okay. Well, and my second thing, and the last thing, and then we can all go home, is 4th of July's coming up, obviously. Do we want to be in the parade and ride on the fire trucks? What do y'all want to do?
I'm working that day.
You gotta work on the 4th.
You're working.
That's
Well-
Tuesday, right?
It's
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
next
The
Tuesday.
parade's gonna actually be on the
I just
4th.
make a
now.
dummy of me and you just hold on to me.
It's up to
Chief,
you
I
all.
assume that we're gonna have a big red truck in that parade, aren't we? Good. Is there,
the council members fit on top of it?
will some council members fit on top of it?
Oh,
Have you all got kids filling it up? Well, what's your plan?
I'm sorry.
Do you all have kids filling up your truck, or,
What time is
so we can load it up with some council members?
Well, it'd be like we did in the fire parade, when we all rode on top of that.
What time is the parade and where you,
No,
where you
I do
loading
not
up
know.
at?
I might go at lunchtime.
Military?
I think it's 11.
We'll email you.
You
all.
I'll go
email us?
lunch at 11, be there.
It's around, I think it's early, it's around 11 or
It is
something like that. And
11.
Then when the parade's over, the event's not the.
Yeah, starts at the Arts Center.
The
Yeah,
cultural center.
yeah.
No.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun.
We'll email everybody and give you a time and.
All right,
Queue
I
it
got
up
the
like
date.
That'd be a good idea,
You
David.
know, convert it.
David's planning an old-time fire truck with a vintage look and.
So when we get on it, it looks
He's
like we're
good.
old and
I
vintage.
think Polly should make us some hats.
I could.
Well,
I could do
Lewis
that.
Wolf
The
told me
trees will
that.
If you all would, if the ladies would like to borrow hats, and more than welcome.
Lewis's old fire truck that used to be the city's.
That would be cool.
He's had it away for a year or so, and they tell me it's running. He was very proud. He said it's running, but the brakes don't work yet. And I said, well, get the brakes fixed and then let us know.
Yeah, before we climb on, we want to make sure it stops.
That'd be a way to get rid of some.
So, okay. Anything else come for the council?
I think that's it.
No,
Meeting
sir.
adjourned.
Great.
That's a good idea, David.
No.
Like a cool
Honey,
vintage
look.
fire truck
man.
with like the bundle. I know, well, that's a nice try.